In the School of the White Magician, a spacious room which looks like a laboratory or an observatory, with here and there shelves on which stand bolt-heads, glasses and objects of fantastic shape, recalling modern apparatus, also several parchment rolls and books. At the back an enormous curtained window, to the left a door leading to an inner room, to the right a door leading outwards. In the right-hand corner stands an hourglass. At the left-hand side stand low tables on which there are more bolts-heads, glasses and open books. In front of the window stands a telescope of strange form, and to the left on a small table is an apparatus similar to a microscope. To the right stands a large throne-like chair with a high back on which is portrayed the symbol of the enneagram, and at the left side is a small chair for the magician's assistant. When the curtain rises, there are several pupils, both men and women, already on the stage, and others are seen to enter from time to time. They are well-built, nice-looking young people with good and pleasing expressions on their faces. They are dressed in white tunics. Those of the girls are long, those of the men to the knee. On their feet are sandals. The girls have their hair dressed smoothly and bound with gold fillets. The men wear silver ones. All have scarves round their waists. Those of the girls are yellow, orange and red. Those of the men are green, dark blue and light blue. They are all occupied. Some are arranging and cleaning the apparatus, some are reading, and others are shaking certain liquids in glasses. By now the number of pupils has increased. Through the outer door the magician's assistant enters. He is an old man of medium height, wearing spectacles, and with a short thin grey beard. He wears a robe of yellow over a short white undergarment with a violet-coloured scarf round his waist. On his feet are sandals, on his head a white skull cap with a violet-coloured scarf round it. In his hands he holds a long rosary of mother of pearl, and on his breast, hanging from a silver chain, is the symbol of the heptagram, a 7-pointed star in a circle. The pupils greet the magician's assistant, who responds graciously while going from one to another, examining and correcting the work. The pupils continue to assemble. It is evident that the relationship between them all is kindly, gracious and friendly. A servant enters through the inner door and says something, and from the movements of those present it is obvious that they await someone. The white magician enters. He is a tall, well-built old man with a benign and pleasant face and a long white beard. He is dressed in a long white robe with broad sleeves and facings beneath which is seen a cream undergarment. On his feet are sandals. In his hand is a long staff with an ivory knob, and on his breast, hanging from a thick gold chain, is the symbol of the enneagram, worked in precious stone. To the deep bows of the pupils the magician replies with a kind smile as he blesses them. Then, walking slowly to the throne, and after again blessing the pupils, the magician sits down. The pupils each in turn come forward and kiss his hand, after which they return to their places and resume their interrupted occupations. At this moment Zinab enters. She is late and out of breath from hurrying. She goes up to the magician and also kisses his hand. By the way in which the magician greets her, it is evident that she is one of his favourite pupils. She then goes to the other pupils and apparently imparts to them her recent impressions of the beggar woman with the boy. One of the pupils goes up to the magician, who is talking with his assistant, and asks him to explain something. Evidently the magician's answer interests everyone, for gradually they all collect round him and listen. Continuing the explanation, the magician rises, and going to the microscope, he starts some demonstrations. The pupils in turn go up to the microscope and look through it. Afterwards, the magician goes to the window and draws back the curtain. The clear, starry sky is seen. The magician directs the telescope towards the sky. The pupils in their turn go to the telescope and look through it, at the same time listening to the explanation of the magician. The chief idea of the exposition is as follows. What is above is similar to what is below, and what is below is similar to what is above. Every unity is a cosmos. The laws which govern the megalocosmos also govern the macrocosmos, the deuterocosmos, the mesocosmos, the tritocosmos, and others, inclusively down to the microcosmos. Having studied one cosmos, you will know all the others. The nearest cosmos of all for our study is the tritocosmos, and for each one of us the nearest subject of study is oneself. Knowing oneself completely, one will know all, even God, since men are created in his likeness. Having said this, the magician slowly returns to his throne. The servant enters, and approaching the magician, informs him that someone is asking leave to enter. Having received permission, the servant brings the beggar woman with the child. She throws herself at the feet of the magician and begs for help, pointing to the boy. Zinab also goes up to the magician and intercedes for the boy. The magician, after looking at the wound, speaks to two of the pupils, who then go into the inner room and return, one carrying a cushion on which lies an ivory wand with a large silver ball at one end, and the other carrying a handkerchief, a cup and a jar containing some liquid. The magician takes the jar and pours the liquid into the cup, steeps the handkerchief in this and lays it on the wound. Then with great care he takes the wand, without touching the wound, passes the wand several times over the boy's arm. When the magician takes the handkerchief off, the sore is no longer there. The beggar woman, struck dumb with astonishment, falls on her knees and kisses the edge of the magician's robe. The magician strokes the boy's head caressingly, and then dismisses them. The pupils disperse to their places and resume their occupations. The magician walks about the room, going to some of the pupils to examine their work and give suitable instruction. After some little time he says something to all of the pupils and returns to his throne. Immediately the pupils leave their work and place themselves in rows, and at a sign from the magician they go through various movements resembling dances. The magician's assistant walks up and down and corrects their postures and movements. These sacred dances are considered to be one of the principal subjects of study in all esoteric schools of the East, both in ancient times and at the present day. The movements of which these dances consist have a double purpose. They express and contain a certain knowledge, and, at the same time, they serve as a method of attaining a harmonious state of being. Combinations of these movements express different sensations, produce varying degrees of concentration of thought, create necessary efforts in different function, and show the possible limits of individual force. During an interval, one of the pupils points to the hourglass, whereupon the magician tells them all to finish their previous occupations and prepare themselves for. Meanwhile he himself goes to the window and raises the curtain. It is early morning and the sun is rising on the horizon. As the first rays appear, the white magician with his assistant and his pupils behind him fall on their knees. They pray. The curtain falls slowly.